Sharath, I actually want to talk a little bit about your coming out story. And in our previous conversation, um, you said that the coming out happens for you, right? So you live this entire life where you're in your teens and you're young and you're constantly in the state of mind where you think you have a secret, where you have a secret and you think people
Mhm.
are going to find out.
Yeah.
And being a teenager is hard enough as it is, and then you have this extra layer of this complexity which nobody needs, but it exists and it is who you are.
Yeah.
So, and you obviously feel like you reduce yourselves, be somebody else so that you fit in, right?
Hmm.
So when you came out to your parents, you were in your early 20s, and you told them and you left home.
Yeah.
Why did you think that you had to leave after showing them who you are?
That's that's a very good question. So I think for me, I think to put it, if I was to like look at how my coming out happened, and I think you touched upon it, and I would tend to agree. I think my coming out happened for me. I lost complete control of it. I was also bullied. Uh, when I was very young, when I was very young. I knew in second grade and third grade that people were looking at me differently, and in the Indian culture, there's a very weird thing that happens with sexuality. And I would imagine that girls feel very similarly when immediately the identifying, objectifying parameter when as soon as you look at someone is your sexuality. Like the thing that is commented upon is, oh, your physical attributes, or the way that you are, the way that you talk, the way that you walk, or the way that you. And I think it's rather unique to the Indian experience. Again, I think because of such specific demarcations between what the masculine and feminine is, and what the overlap is, and which way the pendulum should swing.
Mm.
So I think that was, I was very aware of it, very precociously. Things that I shouldn't have been aware of, things that I shouldn't have heard people talk about me, I was hearing it. I then internalized it, and you just learn not to be that way. So if I heard somebody saying, oh, this particular aspect of you makes you more sexual, you just tone it down, you dumb it down, you pretend like you didn't hear it, you try to correct yourself every time you move, you try to correct yourself every time you talk, the way you turn your head. So that was what was happening, and eventually I went to boarding school when obviously. For most of us, that's the period of time, just biologically, you're more aware as you're hitting puberty of your hormones, your sexual desires, your libido, and so that process happened for me in boarding school. Um, this is the first time on a public platform where I'm choosing to like openly talk about it, and um, I don't know. I think it's the strength of having Sundeep beside me and like being into this conversation that um, I hope they're hearing this. I hope that the people that bullied me through boarding school are hearing this right now. Um, it was a very lonely period in my time. I had no control over the fact that I was sent to boarding school. I went because I was told to. I was myself. I cried myself to sleep. I endured a lot of, people telling me um, that I fit a mold, that because I was gay, the decision was already made. I did not have the power or the control to say, I'm gay and I'm attracted to boys, or that doesn't make me any different. That decision was continuously always made for me, either by being taunted or either by being told that I was different or notes that were left for me or being physically ridiculed to an incident where I had my pants pulled down in the middle of like a whole assembly of people in boarding school. And that's the only time I've turned around and hit someone because it was such an impulse. You can only imagine that, you know, as at the end of the day, as a mammal, it boils down to your biology that when somebody invades you like that, the only thing that you have is to react. But somewhere, I don't know, I think I I I, re- I own that part of me. And I said, okay, if this is who you want me to be and this is who you say I am, then I am this. And, you know, I just turned it into a luckily for me, you seem to already know what I'm feeling on the inside. You seem to already know who I am. So then, yes, in the beginning, there was anger and sadness about that control having been taken away from me. Um, and then I looked at it as like, okay, maybe again, in the spirit of the universe doing me favors, this is a favor that the universe is doing me. It is taking away the angst of me having to declare that for myself and providing me with an opportunity to say, okay, this is what people are saying about you. This is what people are. So let's look at it objectively. How much of that do I want to take in? How much of that is right? So that's
Mm,
50%. Yes, I am gay. Yes, I am different. Yes, I am in the minority. Um, yes, according to you, if I speak and walk and talk different than I do. Those are all fundamental truths. And I believe in science and I believe in the truth. So I'm not going to debate that. So if that's your opinion, that's that. But what's wrong is every other conclusion you're drawing about me as a result, because you don't know another gay person. Your information is coming from as flawed a source as my information about myself is coming from depiction in the public, from depiction in the media, from what my family or my immediate, family system around me is talking about people on the LGBTQIA plus community.
yeah.
So that happened, and I think that just like Sundeep said, I think my mom always knew. Um, I think it was difficult not to have immediate access to them because I was in boarding school. I never told any of my teachers. I never told any of the wardens in the dormitories. Um, I think they all knew. Um, this is not to blame them. I think that this is just to highlight that the system encourages brushing things under the carpet. The system encourages to be comfortable and not to
Mm,
be uncomfortable in pursuit of a greater good, right? I think to become uncomfortable so you can pursue the greater good is what the aim should be. Not brushing things under the carpet and being comfortable with what's wrong. Um, and I think so. With that experience behind me, when I finally came out of boarding school, I was 18 or 19. I went through a year of why, I think my mom would always comment on, you're so isolated. This is not like you. I would jump at the chance to go to a wedding. I would jump at the chance to like go to a birthday. For a year after I came out of boarding school, I wasn't doing anything because I was struggling to understand. Okay, now somehow, you know, it's learned helplessness. Somehow, all that negativity becomes normal. So, for 5 years, as I was dealing with that, as negative as it was the norm. I became comfortable with dealing with the negativity. I became comfortable with, you know, telling people off or like showing the angry version of me. I was told to like be less angry. Don't be so vocal. Don't be so
mm,
opinionated. But all of that became normal. That suddenly when that ended, and now I'm supposed to be in the comfort of like my primary safety zone, I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know what it meant not to like confront someone who was bullying me or teasing me every day. Um, because that then means that you have to be quiet in your own head and accept yourself for who you are and be confident,
yeah.
and give yourself a chance. And I think that as I was going through all of that, I will admit a little bit of resentment crept in, right, with my parents about being like, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's also because I was in boarding school and you folks are not around. So I don't know if what the steps that I've followed and the conclusion that I've drawn that this is who I am, this is how I have to be is even correct.
Mm.
This is where I've just landed. This is where the dice rolled, and this is where I am right now. So I think that the only way that I knew was to say it because I needed to say it. Um, but then to kind of go back into something that was familiar for me, and oddly enough, what was familiar for me was dealing with it on my own. That was familiar territory for me. Um, and I think that that was the impetus to like exit the situation. It wasn't in any way, shape, or form to prove a point. It wasn't in any way, shape, or form, to teach anyone a lesson or to have any. It was just what I knew to do in the moment. It was just what I knew to do to survive because I don't know how I would have survived. That year being home with my parents, I I don't know. I constantly would go back to like feeling like I caused the bullying. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. Maybe I should just, you know, just taken it and never, pushed back. You know, um, and that was too much. You cannot doubt yourself terminally as you exist. That's not compatible with life. You have to have a sense of self. You have to have a sense of knowing that the people around you love you and accept you for who you are. um, and we're all social beings. We don't exist in isolation, and that was the thing that I knew to do is to to find that on my own as I'd done.
Mhm.
um,
I
and
think a
luckily I
lot of
did. you know
a lot of experiences that Sharath has just shared are unfortunately the same type of things that a lot of members of the LGBTQIA plus community endure. And it's unfortunate, but suicide is a huge risk factor for members of the LGBTQIA plus community. And it's something that, is never discussed, but it's a huge concern. And, you know, by having the capability and the ability for us to showcase and share our wedding ceremonies, we really hope that we give the courage to members of the community to know that they're not alone and it does get better, and there's hopes that they can achieve, you know and living their truth is not bad and it's not wrong, and they are loved and they have a huge community of support, and they could literally just send a message to any member of the community and they will reach out.